I loved horses, and I have since I.
Did you wrestle with them?
I did.
Oh.
I did. Mark.
With just over 2 weeks until midterm elections, the libs continue to show their true colors, while simultaneously pretending they don't stand for the things they say they do. All of this while they literally mock anyone who dares stand up against their agenda. Real quick, we're going to take a break.
We're going to talk a little bit about amino acids. Amino acids, this one right here is all day you made. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of amino acids. It's got B6, B12, glutamine, coconut water. It has everything as well as essential amino acids. If you don't know what essential amino acids are the thing that make the branched chain amino acids work. So if you do not have essential amino acids in your branched chain amino acids and you're trying to figure out why your amino acids suck, that's probably a good reason why. So come by, get all day you may, because you want to do it all day when you're in the gym.
Swing by 7420 District Boulevard or call 661-282-8840 and ask for Steve for all your sports supplement and nutrition needs. All right, welcome back to Relevant Rants, and I'm here today with Tom and Chris, and we're happy to be here in front of you. And to start us off, Danny has a few things to say about sports.
For my rant today, it's going to be about Davante Adams and the misdemeanor assault. I'm going to go out and say it. I think it's petty and unnecessary what this guy is doing. I think it's all out of an embarrassment. He's not trying to seek any form of justice. What for his, his sweater maybe getting a little bit dirty. I don't think there's any scrape or any bruise on that man's body. If you go watch the video, you can clearly see that Davante Adams barely taps him. When you're leaving the stadium in a frustrated loss in a game that you should have won, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of emotions, right? And Davante Adams, I think he showed that. But they are players, and they are to be protected, right? And when he's going to the locker room, and he has people around him going to the locker room with him to protect him and that, and there's two Kansas City, security guards or however you want to put it, right there standing in front of the walkway, right? And they allow this cameraman to just dash right in front of Davante Adams. And if you see, I don't even think, if this was on the field, this wouldn't even be considered offensive PI. Like, there's no, it's literally this. It's literally this. It's not a full extension. It's literally a quick kind of in the moment, a reaction, right? I mean, these guys he's a Hollywood guy. He's very, very, very famous. If somebody was to do that to him on the street, dash in front of him, he'd give him the same reaction. I mean, kind of get away from me, I think this is petty and unnecessary. This guy is embarrassed, maybe rightfully so. And I mean, like I said, he's not trying to seek any justice, He's trying to get some money is my thing here. If Chris Rock didn't file charges of what Will Smith did to him on stage, this guy shouldn't be seeking anything. I mean, he dashed in front of an NFL player. I mean, happens. He was off balance. Like I said, he was running across. If this guy was standing like this, firm, I mean, Davante Adams wouldn't even have moved him. I mean, it was a tap. It was a love tap. And I read Missouri state law on misdemeanor assault, and I guess it's, really any physical touch, I guess, can be considered misdemeanor assault. I don't think Davante Adams had any intention to harm the guy. I think it was just like, get out of my way. Like, I'm trying to make way to the tunnel, right? And do I think it was right? No, I don't think it was right. But do I think he needs to be charged with misdemeanor assault and not have on stay on his record for the rest of his life? No, heck no. No, of course not. To me, like I said, it's petty and unnecessary. But you guys let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I know he's a Raider, bear with him. I know he's a Raider. But I mean, just if this happened to LeBron, if LeBron's walking to the locker room and a guy dashes in front of him and LeBron gives him a little love tap and he happens to fall down, do you think LeBron should get charged with assault? No, right? No. But you guys let me know what you guys think.
So I love that Danny said that.
Yeah.
Created some good conversation. But for context, as he said, Davante Adams being a Raider is the only team in the NFL you have to get jumped into. So I don't know what kind of love tap that is. Danny, I love you. I know you said that last night, but we all love you. But real quick, we had a response from Kyle, who is regular panelist here at Relevant Rants, and
not feeling well today, but he wanted to participate.
He did, which is awesome. I love that, Kyle. You can do that.
You rock
anytime
it,
you want,
Kyle.
So I wasn't gonna respond, but since you asked us our thoughts, I think that this entitled ideology with these athletes is ridiculous. That they think they could shove someone and not get in trouble for it. That's crazy. Like, I can't get mad at a client, have a bad transaction, get pissed off, throw my helmet, stomp around, act like a baby, and then when I'm walking to the locker room, literally two hands, push an individual. I don't care if it's soft, medium, hard. It was pretty hard. Let's be honest. If a dude pushed me like that, we're fighting. We are literally fighting if a dude pushes me like that. And I would challenge you guys to really ask yourself, how would you respond if some dude pushed you while you were trying to do your job? Did he get in the way? One could argue, yeah, he got in the way. But I think it's all about, and I act sometimes. Let me just clarify. Sometimes I do things I'm like, crap, I acted totally wrong doing that. But it's what you do after that. If I push a guy and he accidentally goes flying, maybe I pushed him harder than I meant to. Maybe I pushed him and it was like, oh crap, dude, I'm sorry. Bad game, frustrated, etc. Okay, help the guy up. Hey, dude, you know what? I shouldn't have done that, bro. I'm sorry. Don't wait until you're called out on it to then apologize. But if you're asking me, would LeBron be in trouble? I don't know, but I certainly hope. Because I'll tell you what, you push someone out in the street, I had a friend whose wife was trying to grab their kids from him, and he barely shoved her. And I mean, barely pushed her away. He got arrested for that. Why shouldn't they have the same treatment? I don't know. It's always the devil's advocate. It's always, oh, they're famous. They should be able to get away with it. Oh, they're a somebody. They have money. Let them get away with it. It's always the game of the slap on the wrist for the famous.
So I was discussing this with our good friend John L. earlier today, and I was like, okay, so let's switch the roles around, and let's say I was to push him, right? Now, first of all, he said, yeah, you wouldn't get very far if you did that, and I don't doubt that I wouldn't with John L. John L's bigger than me, and I'm sure much tougher, but it would also be considered a hate crime, right?
What I want to do, and I just want to put everything into context, because you're seeing an act of what we say in aggression happen at a NFL football game. And I'm going to say that I would think that everybody that's on the field level should have some modicum of thought process to realize I might get hurt being on the field.
Absolutely.
We all see it. We see the refs get knocked over. Of course, they can say they're getting paid for it. You can see the photographers there. He had a camera. So you're part of the game. If I go into the ocean, I become part of the food chain. I mean, that's an obvious thing.
But Tom,
I know you want to jump in. Hold on. I let you have your say. So if you're out there, I think before you get a field pass, and this may be happen. I don't know. I've never got a field pass for the NFL game. If you want to give me one, I'd love to read it. But it should have a little note that says you might get physically hurt.
Well,
I mean, we see the cameraman get knocked over.
Every ticket has that just to be a spectator.
Yeah, I mean,
that's got to.
So in context, Davante Adams walking off after a terrible loss by 1 point. They probably shouldn't have lost. Talk about it between yourselves. I mean, you know, I love the Raiders with Derek Carr, a hometown hero from Bakersfield. But I'm just saying, this man is so frustrated that his team didn't win. I don't think he's in the mindset, oh, I got pedestrians coming today. I'm going through the tunnel. There really should be nobody there because that is access for basically held for players, coaches, and affiliates of the team. So I think you have to put it in context. And as this guy's walking in there, he did it. I'm going to say this: he shouldn't have done it. Yeah. We'll say that. I think we'll all agree he shouldn't have done it. But what should happen next is the key thing. I think the guy was part of a violent sport that even off the sidelines, these guys, I mean, we've all been emotional. Mike, you played football.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, it takes a while to come down. He just threw his helmet on the ground.
But I think there's a big difference between being on the sidelines, filming a game, and getting knocked over because someone gets tackled and you happen to be right there, and being out in the tunnel and getting pushed, right? Now, granted, he shouldn't have stepped in front of the guy.
Yeah.
That was
Now-
stupid, frankly, in my opinion. But
So-
Was it planned?
Who knows?
Good point.
But
I mean,
now
was it planned?
I've been on the field and I've photographed hundreds of high school
You
and
have.
college football games. First thing the other photographers were telling me is players get right away, get out of their way, watch out. You work around them.
I forgot you were a photographer.
Yeah,
Chris.
so I did it in high school and college.
Great
He
and
brings in expert commentary.
he does.
I've watched people get bowled over, blow out knees on the sidelines. Photographers, videographers, get
Do they
really
file
hurt.
charges?
Never.
Okay.
Never. I mean, just use their own health insurance, get it fixed, it's done. But rule number 1 on the sidelines is players get right away. Yeah, you're a spectator. You hide in the background. You do what you need to do. You stay out of their
I'm
way.
glad we have an expert on the subject.
we do. We
Yeah, I mean, that guy never should have
Our
crossed.
legal expert didn't make it today.
But-
Scott,
but-
where
but-
are you?
But I mean, security never should have let that guy cross that.
That's true.
That path.
So
Granted.
there was a few responsibilities that probably got let down before that guy was there.
Yeah.
If there had been somebody who said ho 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 ho, it'd have never happened.
Well, the security guard was busy messing around on his cell phone. If you watch that video a little closer, you'll see that.
But I think there's like this kind of thing in society where different people, based on their stardom or status or whatever, feel like they have superiority over other people, and which brings me to our next point.
I will tell you a personal experience.
Speaking of, including Tom, people that think they're above the law, have you guys seen this viral video of AOC?
No, I have not. I'm interested in seeing it.
Okay. Okay, so
Perspective. Give us perspective.
perspective. So she's at this town hall in New York, and she's meeting with the town people that she represents. Now she thinks she's above them, right? She obviously by many actions thinks she's above them. However, there's people there that are protesting things she's done. And she's like, oh, she's mocking them, basically, is what she's doing. She's mocking the people that are protesting. But why are they protesting? They're protesting the increase in criminal activity and violent crimes, right? Which kind of leads us into the stories that you'd brought up for this week.
Was she just dancing because the music came on? Who played the music?
No, so they're chanting in protest, right?
okay.
And there's some other guy back there, some hippie or something, playing on the bongo to the beat of their chants.
Okay. Oh yeah, I just wanted. I hadn't seen that one, so I just asked the question. Okay. Well. I think we would all be remiss if we didn't talk about that crime is going up. Mm-hmm. We see it in our hometown of Bakersfield, California, every day. I mean, we just had a couple things that came last week through the court system. I wish our attorney was here, Scott Winkler. Where are you? But I think it's to the point that the New York Post said this. It says New Yorkers have a perception of more crime because there is more crime.
There is.
Yeah, it's not a perception. There is more crime. So much that Adams, their mayor, is saying, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric Adams.
There's more crime.
Yes.
So obviously there's more crime. You can't say it's our perception of more crime. It's like somebody keeps count.
Well, and
There's
this
more
particular
crime.
article is talking about crimes in the subways. And it's talking about, hey, we haven't had more crimes, whatever that's the narrative they're trying to tell. But then if you look at, okay, there's half as many people going into the subways as there used to be, and the crime level has remained the same. So the percentage of crime is gone up in the subway. Mm-hmm. However, at the same time, the percentage of violent crime has increased.
People just don't feel safe. Can we just say it that way?
Yeah.
Well,
I've told all my girls, my wife, my two girls, and Tessa is married to Danny, that be careful where you're at. Mm-hmm. People really don't care.
No.
What they're going to carjack you, if they're going to try to... obviously, just open your eyes and read the news. And I'm not saying I'm one party or the other in this. We just have more crime and it has to stop. How do we stop it?
By implementing the laws and
following them.
And at this point, you got to take care of yourself.
Hey, I mean, honestly, we can even talk about then how they want to get you in trouble if you try to defend yourself.
Yeah.
We've already seen that case.
New York's essentially outlawed concealed carry everywhere.
And at the same time, that leads us nicely into our next story, which, Tom, you'd brought up about they don't want us law-abiding citizens to have guns, but yet the criminals have guns. And the story of these ex-criminals that were released from prison came out with automatic weapons. Who's allowed to have automatic weapons, especially in New York? Nobody, right? But the law-abiding citizens don't have the weapons, but the criminals do. They came up and shot up this place randomly. They had automatic weapons and grenades and all sorts of stuff. That's like, what? What did these criminals who, as criminals, as felons, they're not allowed to have weapons, period, right? Again, going back to... But
you have to remember, criminals, by definition, don't follow the law.
Well, that's why.
So do you think we should have more laws to keep people from having guns?
No.
Because
that wouldn't have stopped this?
No.
They call them law-abiding citizens. They
Right.
don't abide in the law. They abide in breaking
Chaos
the
and
law.
mayhem?
Yes. I think I've heard that word a few times.
Yeah, or the law of the street, or the law of the jungle, or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, this is where my heart hurts. My heart hurts for the victims, the innocent victims, because they are innocent victims. When
Yes.
you just open it up and read, they weren't planning on being kidnapped and killed. They weren't planning on being carjacked and hurt. They weren't, that. I mean, we hear of a guy that they supposedly have caught in connection for some rapes in Stockton. And
that's our next article.
Oh, it is? Okay, I'll get ahead then.
No, go ahead. Continue on.
Well, I'm just saying, they were following him. Hello?
Right.
They were following him, and they believe they caught him in the act of stalking another victim. So as the police are doing this, I mean, it's like, hey, we got an idea, and I get it. My brother was a sheriff officer for almost 30 years. I get it. You can't, prosecute a crime or arrest somebody for a crime they haven't committed, but you still are putting people in peril. I mean, they're following this guy, making sure he doesn't commit a crime. But what if he ducks in an alley and commits it, and then they catch him? I mean, somebody innocent is now become a victim. And I think that's what I think we need to do, is we need to look more on the law-abiding citizen who's paying his taxes. He's contributing to society. And I'm not saying you have to have a job. I say you've just got to be law-abiding to help with our community, our society.
Well, the thing is...
that's why we have laws, right?
Well, supposedly, implementation of new laws is actually what caused this issue. So there was a law saying, hey, if they were tried as a minor, as a youngster, they should be released. Well, all along, including Kamala Harris, she was the attorney general in California at the time that this guy was incarcerated, and was a very vocal proponent of keeping him in prison. He was very aggressive in prison, and had committed other additional physical violence and stuff while he was in there. He is unrepentant and all this stuff, but they release him anyway. And less than 2.5 months after he gets out, he goes and murders another person. He never should have been released. Even Kamala Harris said he shouldn't have been released.
Well, before she ran for president and vice president, she was queen of locking everyone up as long as possible.
Now she's all for letting them out.
Yeah, she did everything she could to hold prisoners in past their release date.
I think history should be always checked. I've got a past, and part of my past is online. You can pretty much look me up with my careers. But I think if you check history, you find so many people that wishy-wash around. And I do believe in progressive knowledge. I felt that since I accepted Christ, I've become a better citizen, a better human being. I love people. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I love people. I think stories are worth hearing. But I think that you may have said some things or stood for some things when you were younger that you might be contradicting nowadays. But I think if you have history on people, we should see that if they were a criminal, maybe they aren't rehabilitated. I was a chaplain in the California Department of Corrections for a decade. I can go in, I minister to these guys, I love these guys. I can't tell you how many times I go in, they're like, hey, Pastor Tom, hey, Pastor Ron, you said if we kept this behavior up, we would be here. Here we are. We're glad you're here to minister to us. And I would still minister to them. But I left with freedom, and they stayed. They wore an orange jumpsuit or a brown jumpsuit. I don't think they had a choice. Wardrobe was picked out for them. But I'm just saying they lost their freedom. But I would still go in and minister to them. Love to.
Yeah, and all of this, and remember, who was it that said elections have consequences? And so they do have consequences. We're about to be able to vote here,
Please
technically,
vote.
some
Yes.
people, or
Please
not technically,
vote.
some people have already been able to vote. By
Yeah,
mail-in
my
voting
ballot's
and
sitting
other
on my
things.
kitchen counter.
Right, but
They might have voted a couple times. Now
voting,
that could get us in trouble.
voting day is November 7th.
Our producer, Alex.
Allegedly. There you go,
allegedly
Alex. You're
gets in
covered.
trouble. Okay. Right on.
So,
He gave us a high
but
five.
all of this, the crime and everything continues to go on as the plot against our children continues.
Yeah.
But be encouraged. There's a couple articles that are out that affect our children, but there's one state, at least multiple, but one state that's hitting the news big time that's fighting back.
Florida.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So,
All I can say is stop it.
well, here's the thing, right? And we discussed this earlier. Your wife's an educator, right? The thing is, CD, and this is the story, and so we want to make sure to make that clear. CDC does not enforce, regulate, require vaccines or anything, right?
No. They have a
However,
recommended
they do
list.
set recommendations, and several states require any recommended vaccines by CDC to be enforced, right? So they know exactly what they're doing. The thing is, it's funny that they're doing this right before elections. It's like, hey, we have an agenda to do here, but we're also going to shoot ourselves in the foot at the same time.
You know, I'm just not sure why we keep rehashing this. You know, our president told us it's over. I would choose to believe our president. And from what I see, it's over. And my wife is an educator, and she will tell you that there is a list of vaccines kids are allegedly supposed to get. But not all of them are always held to that.
Yeah.
There's exemptions for it. So I don't know why we're pulling out COVID again and saying it's special, you know, because I'm not sure it is.
Well, the reason I mentioned
And I may be wrong. I had the vaccine.
The reason I mentioned Florida here was because Florida actually put a law in place a while ago that said that anything that tries to require the vaccine is against the law.
And they did that by statute. It went through the legislature,
Yes.
passed, was signed by the governor. It is a
Because
law.
that's what the people actually want.
Yes.
That's what we should do because
Yes.
that's what we're supposed to do until the laws get changed.
Now, I mean, luckily for California, for it to be a required vaccine for school, it does have to go through that way. You can conscientiously object if it's just put on the list by fiat.
So you're of the opinion that California is not going to do this?
They tried to pass it by through the legislature in the last session and could not get it through.
Huh, that's surprising.
So that's facts we have.
Well, I think that's the way our system is supposed to work.
It's
Yes.
just, yeah.
Not just you'll do it because I say.
Well, yeah, but the governor can still say it until February 28th,
Yeah, he said.
2023.
Well, there again, I think that's what's great about our country.
Yeah.
The way it stands. Get out and vote, please. And if you look at that, that's the way we're supposed to do it.
Yes.
I'm for that system. You know.
Yeah. So speaking of the agenda against our children and Florida in particular, there's another story out from involving Dr. Phil.
I love it when people will objectively talk about something, and I have a problem when they don't want to come out and admit why they agree with it. And Dr. Phil had it.
Do you have that clip, Alex?
I do not.
It's not the one up there in the third tab.
I thought this was Colin Kaepernick.
Right?
But the onus of
I
that
did.
lies with the parents. They're in control of the care and custody of their children. And my question to you is, what makes you think you know better than a parent about what should happen to a child when they have a life-determining decision about whether they're going to make a decision about gender or anything else? You have to call before you give them a Tylenol, and you can't make a presumption that this child can't take this information home.
So
I agree with that from Dr. Phil and the mother, because moms should step up, dads should step up, because the job of parenting belongs in the home. I'm going to stay on that forever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It absolutely belongs to the home. Schools are there to bring in curriculum. And I wish it went back to when I was in school and it wasn't pronounced reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, that was it. Now they want other things added on top of it, and it just doesn't make sense. My wife's an educator. She says these kids are too young to make these decisions at those ages, and you don't want to clutter their minds with that.
Yeah. Well, what was it? Your wife said this morning. They want the state, the government, the liberals especially.
Cradle to career.
Yeah. They want to control.
Because because there is a group of people that think they can do the job better than the parent, and that is so far from the
Well,
truth.
there's a lot more behind that agenda and a lot more depth to that than.
Mike, I get that, but I mean,
No, I know you do.
when you're this is and I deal with parents all the time. I deal with kids all the time. I think that when you have and I'm not going to say this because you're going to come at me. And if you do, that's fine. But I think when you're biologically or maternally invested in children, you do have the best interest at hand.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, I think that's where
Most of the time.
I think that. I mean, we have problems in family. We do that, but we don't need the family, the nuclear family, or the relationship between a parent and a child to be degraded more. And I think that keeping something from a parent, making a child feel like they've got to keep something in, puts burdens on them. They learn something in school and they can't tell their parents about it. My kids came home every night at dinner. We said, say something good that happened and something bad that happened, because we wanted to minister through them both. And you know, I can't imagine them having something that they're like, don't tell your parents. I can see the guilt from not telling them bearing on my kids. My daughters both, Taylor's 26, Tessa's 23. So, I mean.
But that's a large part of why we do everything we do here at 511, right?
Yeah.
Is because we want to build up the nuclear
Faith, family.
Faith, family, freedom.
Freedom.
We want to build up the nuclear family, equip them, give them resources and tools to do that.
Make
Because
their own decisions.
the nuclear family is the foundation of society, right? And as you know, certain segments of our culture and society want to break down the nuclear family because there's an agenda behind that to
and
promote different ideologies that we don't.
And that's why I
necessarily
wish
agree
we
with.
could just talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Why aren't we for the family?
we are for the family.
No. I'm saying as
As
a
a whole,
society,
yeah.
as a whole. I have no problem talking to people
Tom,
about
I think
that,
there's a
although-
lot larger percentage of people that are for the family in society
too.
than the mainstream media would want you to believe.
people
You know-
that I talk to all the time, and I talk to both sides of the aisle. Please don't think I'm biased on this, because I think I am the bubble in the middle, right?
I don't think you're necessarily bubble in the middle. You tell the truth. You come from obviously a clergy background. You like how I said that, clergy.
Yeah.
But
Reverend.
it is about ultimately at the end of the day we do want to love people and love people where they're at. But at the same time, and I've had this discussion. You know, I've done content about this specifically. Is why do I care so much about issues, societal issues, cultural issues, political issues? Because I care about the society that my children are growing up in. I care about the society your children are growing up in, and I care about the direction we're going, because the society that Chris and I and you, Tom, even more so, grew up in is not what exists today, and we're headed down a path for ultimately destruction. The Bible says that we're headed there, and now I'm going to get off the soapbox, but
Now, on one side note, I have noticed a lot more of my children's friends' parents are still together than mine at the same age.
I don't know if I agree with you, because
That
I
could
have
be-
the same experience.
That could be where I live, and
It's the people we surround ourselves
yeah,
with, right?
you know, and the schools they go
I don't
to.
think the
and,
percentage of divorce has gone down.
No, it hasn't.
I think it's just the groups that we associate with.
You know, and I think you always have a generational change. And,
Absolutely.
you know, I've got a daughter at 23 that's already married. I have a daughter at 26 that isn't yet. And I do understand, and this is something I'll say, and Mike, you know, I've talked about it. We've taught on it, that men usually develop. We're developmentally, you know, immature until about the age of 25. And I think
Beyond that, I think almost 35 times.
But I'm just saying, men's we usually have 2 careers before we hit 25.
Right.
You know, and so it just or we change paths. So I'm just saying there is a generational move where my oldest daughter, you know, is probably waiting a little longer than my younger did, but my younger had known Danny for 7 years before they got married,
Yeah.
and so they had a pretty good knowledge of each other. And I think that's what we see with young love, and so that still exists.
So I met my wife 3 days after I turned 25.
That's why you've done so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me and Ludavia practically in our young adulthood grew up together. So
Well, my wife and I are 12 years apart, so I can't say that.
she had to wait for you to get mature to get married.
Ooh, I never thought of that.
But we have all this, and we're bringing it to you to educate and inform you guys. Yeah. But one of the things we want to do is start bringing you guys the good news, some feel-good stories. So, Tom, you have a couple of those picked out for us today.
Well, the one that I really like is these two male friends, and they're both wrestlers, and they had an encounter with a grizzly bear, and it was a large grizzly bear, and the grizzly bear grabbed a hold of of one of them, and so as the friend saw it, the guy had extensive wounds. I mean, the guy described the fact when the bear grabbed him by the head, it sounded like potato chips being crumbled in a bag. And so his buddy jumped on the bear. Now it says that he was a college wrestler, but we're talking a grizzly bear here. But through his effort, he got injured too. But I think what a great story. You have two friends, and one's not letting an overwhelming factor stop him from stepping in to help his friend. He had wrestling skills that I think he said he tried to pull on the bear, but I'm not sure a bear growing up in the wild is going to look for an arm bar or a takedown. But they both got severely injured.
I think when you were in your prime, you might have had a little bit of muscle on that guy.
I loved horses, and I have since I.
Did you wrestle with them?
I did. I did. Well, one time I was, and my horse's name was Bonnie, and she was a 11-year-old gelding, and she was spunky.
And you're wrestling a girl?
No, a female mare horse.
I know.
And so I had her, and I had her tethered to a swing set that was buried in the ground. And so all of a sudden, she would do this from time to time, she started pulling on the swing set to the point where it started coming out of the ground. So I kind of put my hand around her neck, and she kind of torqued me. And I was like, oh, really? So I tried to put her on her back, and I almost had her. But I remember her head looking up at me, and I remember her eyeballs, and she flipped me into the air.
Even then, she was stronger than you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So animals are, I mean.
And you were He-Man. So.
Yeah, well, I was probably 260 at the time. I had her head like this. I was staring in the eyeball, and I could see the ground.
Pure muscle.
And I could see the ground on the other side. But she's probably 1,250 pounds.
Yeah. Still had an advantage. Yeah.
So I just appreciate what these two friends, they got involved.
What would you do if you were in that situation? Say I was being attacked by a bear.
Well, no. I would.
If it was me, you might let him win.
I would intervene.
Would you?
I would intervene. Being 64, if I was these young guys' age, I might jump on the bear because that was lack of knowledge. I think I might. I think if you and I were in the woods, Mike, I'd have a gun.
Yeah,
I would.
I would. If I was in the woods, we'd have a gun.
Have you seen the videos Joe Rogan's been putting out on social media?
I have not.
No.
Okay, Alex, drop one of those for people to see, and it's like in post. But
I will say this: Joe Rogan's looking good. He's been on the carnivore diet.
So he took on a mountain lion the other day on social. I'll send it to you.
Oh wow,
it's kind of crazy.
He wrestled it.
No, he was like backing away, but he was like filming it the whole time. He shot at him, and the mountain lion was like, "What?"
A person did, not Joe Rogan.
That wasn't Joe, was it?
Oh, well, it's on
I
Joe
saw
Rogan's
the video.
social media.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that.
Yeah.
That
he was
lion
out
was all
hunting.
business.
Yes.
Oh
And
yeah.
the first shot.
He was like, "What?"
The first shot didn't deter this lion.
No, it did not.
I would think the guy needs a better shot or empty the clip in that circumstance, because that lion met biz.
Yes.
I mean, you go in the wild. Every day is a lion's life or death. It is.
Yes.
Every day, you've got to catch something and kill it and eat it.
Yeah.
And it's life and death. So when you go out in the wilderness, realize there again. That's why I don't go in the ocean. Sharks are eating.
Well, yeah, and
Every day they're eating. I become the food chain. I'm not the top of the food chain.
I live right on the outskirts of town. About a month ago, I saw a coyote running down my street. Yeah,
And that's not a normal canine.
Yeah,
If he bites, he's biting biz.
Yes.
I mean, he's in it for keeps.
Yep.
Okay, so we got one more, and I'm not quite sure how this is a feel-good story, but you put it there, so go ahead, Tom.
Oh, if you're waiting for a pickup truck and you were worried that the EVs weren't going to have the power to carry the loads, hey, they're going to have one. I think GMC's bringing it out 2024. It's going to be the EV Denali, And you just got a pretty steep price tag of $107,000.
That's the part where I was confused on how it's a feel good story.
Well, I'm just saying, if you were waiting for the EV pickup truck that has pulling power, here it's come.
Now,
but I'm just thinking
the same thing. Diesel's probably going to run you 95, 98.
Okay, so it's not crazy expensive.
No.
Well, the average person
Would you
is.
say this
Yeah.
compares to a diesel pickup?
It's got more torque. I think it said 754 horsepower
Well,
and
the key-
800
the-
something
the
foot
key
pounds.
is
The
like-
person that's in the market for that type of a truck, it's not crazy
No,
expensive, right?
No, but
No.
for a person to say, hey, my truck didn't cost me that.
No,
No.
And,
mine either.
and I'm not going to go put on. If I buy a truck for $107,000, that divorce rate may go up.
You're a truck or a house? Which are we going to buy here? But anyway, we wanted to round out the show with a couple feel good stories. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Have a great day. God bless.